The conversation has started again, boxing versus MMA. Francis Ngannou has kind of been the starter of this conversation now, right? Because he did beat the best boxer heavyweight in the world. I agree with that. I'm saying he was wrong. I agree with that. I'm not fighting that. Now, I think that Jake Paul had proven a lot of arguments, right? And settled a lot of arguments on whether MMA guys could hang in boxing. As far as could they just go in and compete with the top guys? The answer was no. The answer was no. But for some reason, when people talk boxing and them going to MMA, they aren't given the chance like every other style is given, right? Every other kickboxer, wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy is given. They're automatically requested to face the top guy. And that happens because MMA doesn't compete with wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing for viewerships, for TV time, for putting people in seats. It doesn't compete with it, right? And there's a thing that happens where people think fame is equal to experience, right? So like this happens in boxing all the time. The guy gets a little bit of fame, and then people start saying, well, how come he's not fighting anybody? He'll only be like 4 fights in. This is the same thing with Jake Paul. Jake Paul right now announced he's going to be boxing. He's fighting a guy that's got a winning record, but if you look at his winning record, it's built. There's not a lot of there's no killers on there. It's a guy that he's really an opponent, and people are mad about that. But people aren't realizing that if it was any pro prospect, boxing, right, a prospect that people think is promising, they would be facing guys like this left and right. But because Jake Paul is famous and they're actually paying attention to it, they believe that he should be fighting better talent because of the fame. And that's the same thing with boxers, right? It's not a kickboxer coming in. It's not a jiu-jitsu guy coming in. Top jiu-jitsu guy that no one really knows besides people that follow kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. It's a boxer that more people know, right? People know Gervonta Tank Davis. People know Ryan Garcia. People know Fury. People know Wilder. So they should come in and fight our big names that people know. So they're not given the chance that everybody else is given. If you think of like Bo Nickal, right? Bo Nickal comes in and he's a top wrestler, right? Collegiate wrestler. He comes in and they're going to build him up. He's going to face the opponent that's similar to his level. He's going to keep going through that until they feel he's ready for a title shot, until he feels he's ready for a title shot. And that's what I'm saying is, can a boxer go in and knock an MMA guy out cold in the first fight? On average, no, it's not going to happen a lot. Because without the knowledge of the timing and the distance and knowing how to handle yourself on the ground and being used to being in those positions and being used to taking leg kicks, because I think people bring up leg kicks like if it's impossible to take. No, it just takes time to develop, right? It takes time to learn how to block them. It takes time to learn how to get conditioned to take them, right? It's not impossible. People do it all the time. But boxers are blamed for them not knowing how to do it, right? The boxers are blamed for the unknown. It's like playing chess with someone that's never played chess before and beating them and saying, you're an idiot because I beat you at chess. I never played chess before. That makes me a fool for not playing chess. What if I played a few times and then we did this again? Do you think it would go that way? That's what MMA guys are showing off about. MMA guys are saying, well, look, how quick I would kick a boxer in the leg and, he would not be able to take it. Well, straight off the couch, maybe not. No, he would have no experience in it. But what if we gave Tank Davis the chance he gave Bo Nickal? What if he let him come in, work his way up from the bottom, right? Fight guys at his level. And let him learn the game, right? Because if you look at a guy like Tank, and you look at guys that come from jiu-jitsu, you would have to say the guy Tank would have to make the better prospect than the guy comes from jiu-jitsu. The guy comes from jiu-jitsu is used to positions that are really not positions you want to be in MMA. You don't usually want to be on your back in MMA, right? With a guy being able to hit shots on you. Guys in jiu-jitsu don't have the best takedowns, right? Especially not like a full double leg, right? They're not that kind of explosive movement. A guy in jiu-jitsu is going to have a real time hard learning stand-up because it's nothing relatable to the jiu-jitsu that he learned. It's not a lot of, you don't have to be an explosive athlete to be good at jiu-jitsu, right? It's a real technical thing. It's a lot of knowing the skills and how to set up things, and it's a lot of it's just a technical battle in jiu-jitsu, right? It's like a puzzle in the thing, but it's not explosive. It's not, and some guys are, but not consistently, right? You don't have to be that. If you look at Kron Gracie, he wasn't an explosive athlete. When he came to stand up, he's very stiff because he'd never done it before. He was literally learning from scratch. It wasn't relatable to anything he had done. You get a guy like Tank Davis, you get a guy like Shakur, you get a guy like Haney, right? You get a guy like Canelo, guys that are used to explosive movement. Guys are used to being balanced with their body, with their legs being connected to their hands. And you start teaching them grappling, they're going to pick that up. And there's more likely that they pick up grappling than the jiu-jitsu guy picks up his hands and picks up the stand-up. And it's more likely that these guys learn how to kick faster than the guy in jiu-jitsu learns how to kick. It's more likely that the boxers who use leg movement all the time, they use explosive movement, are better at grappling than the kickboxers. Than a Muay Thai fighter, who are very more stiff, straight up, and stay in place. But we don't look at it like that. We look at it as, oh no, the best guys in the world have to fight the best guys in the world, and if they fail, they suck. And to me, that's not the case. What you have to remember is MMA is a sport. I know we want to compare it to a street fight, because we feel that's the closest thing to it is a street fight, but there are very important rules that are removed that don't really allow you to call this a street fight. There are no soccer kicks, right? Especially in UFC. UFC is the main platform, so let's leave it at that. And these are how the rules will work in the States. No soccer kicks. No knees to a down opponent, right? No headbutting. They can only allow 12 to 6 elbows, right? There's certain things that they don't allow that would change the whole game for a grappler. It's a sport. And when I heard Sean O'Malley say, oh, I couldn't be a boxer because they don't even know the ground. I couldn't go out there and talk trash if I didn't know the ground. Well, you know the ground because that's a sport you compete in. That's, to me, like saying being a baseball player, being like, I couldn't be a football player because I don't know how to swing a bat. They wouldn't know how to swing a bat. They couldn't hit a 99 fastball. Well, that's a sport you compete in. That's what they pay you to do. They pay Sean O'Malley to know how to grapple. They pay Sean O'Malley to hold himself up in his stand-up, right? But they don't pay Shakur and them to do that. And honestly, the money is so vastly different in boxing and better in boxing, they wouldn't make no sense for Shakur to be like, you know, I better learn some grappling, because financially it doesn't make any sense. Now, might that change? Possibly. And then you might see more boxing guys transition to MMA. We'll see. That time will tell on that. But to say, this is this guy's career, this is what he does for a living, why would Tank learn jiu-jitsu when he gets paid millions and millions of dollars to knock people out with his hands? We have to be realistic here, okay? A lot of these guys would never train if no one paid them. The UFC pays them so people train. And they keep doing their career and they're getting better at what they do. People pay boxers so they're going to do what they're getting paid to do. They're not going to learn jiu-jitsu and grappling because there's no point to it. There's no incentive for them to do that. Now, like I said, boxing should be treated like every other style out there when it comes to MMA and let them develop in their game. Now, as far as boxing as a style itself, it's pretty much proven to me in MMA that's the most effective stand-up. Now, I understand this, that we still have kicking, we still have knees, we still have elbows. I get that. But that's all mixed in with mostly a boxing foundation from basically everyone in MMA is throwing punches from a boxing foundation, using stances from a boxing foundation. Okay, there's not a lot of Muay Thai stances in MMA anymore. There's not even a lot of kickboxing stances in MMA. There's definitely very little karate stances in MMA. Because what happened is when they entered all these styles, and then at the sport got all its rules, when Dana White and all that came in and developed its rules, all these guys went and used all these styles, and they figured out that the most effective thing is using boxing combinations, boxing stances, and mixing in the other stuff. Just how they figured out. In grappling, it's best to have a wrestling base and mix in the other things. It's not good to have just a jiu-jitsu thing and then being on your back 24/7. Right? Not being able to land a takedown, not being able to control, not being on top. So to me, boxing style, it already proved itself. That's what MMA is about, right? So the style proved itself. Well, boxing, it's used by everyone in that cage. They all practice it. They all use it. That's their base foundation for stand-up. Now, there's outliers and stuff like that. But boxing, like if you saw Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya, who Israel Adesanya is literally one of the best kickboxers in the world. And Sean Strickland is not one of the best boxers in the world. He beat him just boxing. So what does that say about the style and what effectiveness? Go watch any card this weekend, right? And you're going to see some boxing in every fight. You are going to see boxing techniques. So the style itself is already proven in MMA. And the fighters that are boxers can prove themselves too if they're given the same shot that everybody else is. But that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to get them right to the top and expect something from them that is not expected from any other style. That's the truth when it comes to boxing versus MMA. Deuces.